I want to talk today about manipulation. And I'm here with my dog, Sandy, because I thought it would be a good way to manipulate you to be more interested in my video. What do I mean by this? I mean, I have been thinking so much about manipulation and realizing how much the stigma around it, how much the negative connotations are holding us back from understanding the depths of what it means to be a human, what it means to manipulate others and to be manipulated, and how much of what we are doing as humans, the ways that we are connecting, is through unconscious manipulation. Of course, we can hold in one basket. There is a lot of conscious manipulation on the part of big businesses, advertising, the government, unscrupulous people. That exists, and I am certainly not here to deny that. In fact, I'm here to say that the ways that we can acknowledge this aspect of our shadow can really help us to see more clearly when we are being manipulated. So if you just follow the idea that to manipulate is to affect, to change, to influence, then we are constantly doing that. I mean, what is people pleasing? When we do something that somebody wants us to do to make them like us, it's manipulation. Is it evil? No, absolutely not. Is it keeping us safe, keeping that child within us that feels unsafe to be seen, heard, fears rejection, abandonment? It's keeping that part of us safe. So the more that we can see it, the more we can see it. I notice it a lot in myself in subtle ways. Since I've started looking at it, it's like the way that I might smile to make somebody feel safe, the way I would adjust my body to lean towards them as they're speaking, to make them feel heard. These are not malicious things. They are just aspects of being human, the ways that we interact, that we're constantly doing. We unconsciously turn away from somebody, tighten up our face when we're feeling upset, which is also manipulating the situation. We're showing a part of ourselves, either unconsciously or consciously, that affects the situation. So as we can awaken more to these parts of ourselves, we can begin to utilize it for good. I had a great conversation with somebody recently, and we were talking about this, and they were very kind of uncomfortable with it, like this idea that we are doing something to hurt others, to just further our own gain. And that's definitely a possibility. But what if the goal is we want to be in more authentic connection? What if the goal is we want the person we're speaking to feel safe, to share, to be themselves? Then how do we approach that? You know, we use language, we use body language, and these are beautiful things. And we are constantly affecting everyone around us. I think some of the reason why this sort of talk can start to get triggering is if you just keep looking, you kind of get to the butterfly effect, where my small action is affecting everything. You know, you can get to the ideas of non-duality, where you're looking at the ways that your thoughts are even influencing your experience of reality, other people's experiences of reality. And that can be a little overwhelming, understandably so. But an awareness of that does not make it more or less true. The extent to which we believe that our thoughts, feelings, energy is affecting the world around us doesn't change the effect. I saw this little meme recently that said that people believe that if they go back in time, they change something, they could change the course of history forever just by changing one small thing. And then it said, so that means that people believe that one small thing can create a huge ripple effect. It's just heavy to hold that. So anyway, I've had experiences in my life that have given me firsthand experiences of of being manipulated, of allowing myself to be manipulated, of noticing in retrospect the ways that my own insecurities opened me up to the influence of others. And, not all of the ways that we are manipulated are people trying to hurt. It's most of the time we are doing it out of an insecurity, out of a need to feel safe. Going back to the people pleasing, like that's the most basic, but also people manipulate to try to further their business. Am I manipulating you right now by saying, watch my video? Yeah, kind of, but like, hopefully it's in a good way. So the more that we can understand our shadows, the more that we can acknowledge, accept, and integrate shadow aspects of ourselves, the more that we are in a sovereign space, the less that we are being unconsciously animated by our own projections, our triggers that come from those places of vulnerability, the defenses that build up without us seeing, that are holding us back from more authentic expression. But so what I'm trying to say is we need to see it in ourselves first. And I don't hear a lot of talk about manipulation being a shadow element, but it kind of is. But it's kind of one of those things where people just want to be like, I'm not a manipulative person. Like in the way that jealousy has kind of been elevated from a feeling state into like a state of being. Like if you say somebody's jealous, they're just like, I'm not a jealous person. I'm not jealous. I'm pretty sure you're human. And I would hope that you're a human that experiences the full range of feelings and emotions. And what you choose to do with that, of course, is something that you can work with and affect. But to feel feelings is very normal. And likewise, to realize that we are affecting others, to realize that we are manipulating the world around us through our thoughts, feelings, behaviors, actions, allows us to have it not be an unconscious process, allows us to see that shadow. And through our own individual shadow, we are able to access the collective shadows, the larger societal issues that come up that we can fall victim to if we aren't aware of our own personal shadows, as they can lock us into that. They can motivate us to lean into those larger spaces. So the more we can see in ourselves, the more we can see in others, the more we can acknowledge the ways that we manipulate consciously or unconsciously, the more that we can see when others are consciously or unconsciously manipulating us. And we are in a very complicated time. Technology, everything happening in the world, things are moving fast. And our individual consciousness is not always keeping up with the collective movements and the collective consciousness as much as we would like. So how do we work on that? We work on that by getting into the control panel of our own mind. And that's kind of a dramatic way to say it, but I like saying things dramatically. So what do I mean? I mean, the more that we can understand how our own mind works, the more that we can have it be a conscious process, the more that we can have it be a tool to use for what we truly consciously want. And yes, you can use that for all kinds of things that aren't great for humanity. And people are doing that every day, and that's being human, and that's to be expected. But if you're a person who is in a process of awakening and wanting to deepen your awareness, I think manipulation is a really nice little rabbit hole to go down within yourself. So when we can see, acknowledge, accept, and integrate these parts of ourselves, we are no longer just unconsciously acting. When we can see our projections, when we can understand how the data that we've collected within our life, consciously or unconsciously, is creating a logic system that is projecting what is happening in the present or projecting what might happen in the future, then we can see that. We can see that lens, we can understand. When we can see the ways that we influence other people, we can see the way that they're influencing us. It's one of those things that we can kind of want to say, I'm not manipulating anybody. I'm not doing anything. And like, okay, if this doesn't resonate and that's what you're doing, then like that's cool, because this is kind of weird stuff and it's maybe not for everybody. But when we can own it, when we can say, I phrased that in a way to try to get a result. It's a good thing, seeing it. Sometimes I phrase it in a way to try to get my answer. Sure. I gave an example to somebody recently. I did that with my kids. My daughter was freaking out because she didn't want to go to soccer, even though she kind of wanted to go to soccer before, but she was having a difficult time with the transition and the cleats. Soccer gear is hard. And I just kind of sat with her and acknowledged her feelings, and then just began pulling threads to move her mind away, like focusing on the socks and then the shoes and then how fun it is to, run with the shoes and just kind of helping her to step away. And that was definitely a conscious manipulation. Was it with any kind of evil intent? Absolutely not. It was to help her do the thing that was within her value system. Her feeling state, her affect was overwhelming her in that moment, but her value that she had set for herself just earlier that morning was she wanted to go participate in soccer. So you see what I mean? That we can use this knowledge to consciously work with people around us, to work with ourselves. How do how much we manipulate our own self? It's like, I'm going to go to the gym. Oh, actually, let me do this thing first. Let me do that thing first. And if we can say, I noticed that when I want to go to when I have a value judgment that I would like to spend my morning going to the gym, and then I tend to have other things come up that I deem as a higher priority. This is a projection that I've existed within to defend against perhaps the uncomfortable feelings of going to the gym, is that I tell myself there's other things that are more important, but also just it's a manipulation that I'm doing to myself. And so when I can see that I manipulate myself in that way, I can see the patterns, then perhaps the next time I can use that knowledge, get into the control panel of my own mind and say, I'm seeing this happening. I've seen this before. What is truly within my value system? What is in my alignment to be doing now? And then maybe I say to myself, I like to manipulate myself, like, I'm just going to go for 10 minutes, even though part of me knows that I'm going to stay longer. But it's just a subtle way that I work with my psychology to manipulate, influence myself. So yeah, if we're going to stay kind of caught up on the negative aspects of manipulation, I think we're missing out. I think it's very important to realize that there can be conscious and unconscious, unscrupulous manipulation. Absolutely. But it's in that deep acknowledgement of how much that exists in the world that we can see the more important value of working on that within ourselves, of making our own unconscious manipulations of ourselves and others more conscious, so we can utilize the tools of our minds, utilize the tools of understanding the psychology of others, understanding body language, to further, hopefully, the evolution of consciousness, the awakening of sovereignty within ourselves and others, more authentic expression, more love, more compassion. So I hope that this was a helpful little rant tangent that I went on today, but it's just something that's been feeling really present with me and I wanted to share.